Everyone thinks tanks and planes won World War II. They're wrong. The true, often unseen, battles were waged against an enemy far more unpredictable: the weather. This wasn't merely about cancelled parades or muddy roads. It was about life and death, the fate of nations hanging on a barometer's needle, on the capricious whims of wind and cloud. Before the war, meteorology was a fledgling science, often dismissed as folklore. But as the world plunged into conflict, military strategists quickly realized that understanding the sky was just as crucial as understanding the enemy's troop movements. From the frozen plains of the Eastern Front to the churning seas of the Atlantic, every major operation, every daring raid, every desperate defense hinged on a single, critical question: what would the weather do? The stakes couldn't have been higher. A botched forecast could doom an invasion, strand a fleet, or expose an army to devastating aerial attack. Entire campaigns could be won or lost, not by bullets, but by blizzards. The Germans, for instance, learned this lesson brutally during Operation Barbarossa in 1941. Their rapid advance across Russia was predicated on clear skies and firm ground. They got neither. The infamous Rasputitsa, the Russian mud season, turned roads into impassable quagmires, bogging down their panzers. Then came the brutal winter, with temperatures plummeting to deadly lows, freezing men and machines alike. The lack of accurate long-range forecasts, particularly for the vast Siberian weather systems, crippled the Wehrmacht. Their intelligence simply couldn't predict the severity of the conditions, a fatal flaw that would echo through the entire war. Meanwhile, the Allies, especially the British, faced their own unique meteorological challenges. The North Atlantic, a cauldron of unpredictable storms, was their lifeline. Convoys carrying vital supplies from America were constantly at the mercy of the elements. British meteorologists, based at stations like Dunstable, became crucial. They had to predict the movements of low-pressure systems, the strength of gales, and the visibility for U-boat hunting aircraft. Every forecast was a gamble, with lives at stake. But acquiring this data was incredibly difficult. Weather moves from west to east across the Atlantic. The Germans controlled most of the weather stations in occupied Europe, giving them a distinct advantage in forecasting for their U-boats. To counter this, the Allies began a daring, often suicidal, hunt for weather data. Specially equipped ships and aircraft ventured deep into the Arctic and North Atlantic, braving enemy fire and monstrous storms to gather vital atmospheric readings. These weather hunters were unsung heroes. Their flights were long, perilous, and often ended in tragedy. But without their sacrifice, the convoys would have been blind, and Britain's survival would have been far more precarious. Then came the most famous weather gamble of them all, D-Day. The invasion of Normandy, the largest amphibious assault in history, was absolutely dependent on favorable weather. A single storm could have turned the beaches into a slaughterhouse. General Eisenhower's meteorologists, led by Group Captain James Stagg, faced an agonizing decision. Early June 1944 was plagued by terrible weather. A narrow window of opportunity, a brief lull in the storms, was spotted for June 6. German meteorologists, relying on less comprehensive data, predicted continued foul weather. This critical miscalculation led them to believe an invasion was impossible, and they relaxed their coastal defenses. A fatal error. Stagg's forecast, though imperfect, proved just accurate enough. The invasion proceeded, the weather cleared, providing vital air cover and calmer seas for the landing crafts. It was a monumental triumph of forecasting. But the weather's influence wasn't limited to the Western Front. In the Pacific, the vastness of the ocean made forecasting incredibly challenging. Typhoons could appear almost out of nowhere, swallowing entire fleets. In December 1944, Admiral Halsey's Third Fleet was caught in Typhoon Cobra near the Philippines. 3 destroyers were lost, over 790 men perished, and dozens of other ships were severely damaged. It was a disaster on par with a major naval battle. This tragedy underscored the immense power of nature, even against the most formidable naval forces. It forced a complete reevaluation of meteorological capabilities in the Pacific. The war spurred incredible advancements in meteorology. The invention of radar, originally for detecting aircraft, quickly found a secondary use in tracking precipitation. Weather balloons became more sophisticated, reaching higher altitudes. The sheer scale of data collection grew exponentially. Thousands of weather observations were made daily across the globe, transmitted via radio, and painstakingly plotted on maps by dedicated teams of forecasters. These unsung heroes, often working in secret, under immense pressure, played a pivotal role in the Allied victory. Their charts and predictions guided the course of the war as surely as any general's orders. The story of World War II is not just one of military might and human courage, but also of scientific ingenuity and the constant, relentless struggle against the elements. The unseen war, fought with barometers and anemometers, proved to be one of the most decisive of all. Next, we delve into the untold story of the ghost army that fooled Hitler's best generals.